Well, hey there guys, Conceptual Concept 6.9 here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and today I wanted to go over my philosophy of truck/bag guns, where they fit, what different options you might have, and whatnot. So let's start with your EDC gun is your primary as a civilian. You should carry a gun you know how to shoot. You should shoot it regularly. And regardless of all this other stuff, train with your carry pistol first. And if you don't, you're really hurting yourself there. But with current events, there might be a feeling you might need something more to defend yourself, your family, the people around you. And so that's what I want to get into. So these are just my own personal requirements. First, I want to state I don't advocate leaving a gun in your truck without it being locked, without it being in a safe or something that makes it really difficult for a criminal to steal it. Because just in 2022 alone, 112,000 approximately firearms were stolen out of vehicles. And you don't want to arm a criminal that might go and use it on innocent people, right? So I think you should be keeping it nearby at all times. So it should be able to fit in a bag or your suitcase, something where you can take it out of the car and it not be blaringly obvious it's a gun. Now, the next thing I want to state is it should either be a rifle or a pistol, and it's because of interstate travel. So if you need to cross state lines, a pistol or a rifle are easy peasy, but an SBR you should legally, you have to notify the ATF with an itinerary and where you're going and whatnot. So I don't advocate an SBR. And depending on what state you're going to, there might be legal issues with concealing a rifle versus a pistol. So there might be more reason to move towards a pistol caliber carbine or something with a brace instead of a full-sized rifle. But let's get into it. Let's start with my least preferred option, but probably the most economical for most people, which is a rifle. So this can be your do-all gun, right? So you're able to take this, you're able to do extended ranges with it, you're able to do all that crazy stuff, but it is a rifle. So depending on what state you're going into, you might have to worry about legality. Concealing it, you might need it in a rifle case versus you could keep it in like a backpack or a suitcase if it was a pistol. And also it's going to be one of the largest options. So it's going to be larger, it's going to be heavier, it's going to be harder to carry around all the time versus some of the other options. Now, I do like having a folding stock on these. You can get law folders for ARs, and those are great, but they make the rifle incredibly wide. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Another thing I've seen people do is break down their rifle, take the upper and lower apart, and it'll fit in a smaller bag. Yes, it will, but then to access it, you need to pop those two pins, reassemble the rifle essentially. Whereas a folding stock, you just unfold it. So I really like the folding stock option. Even with an AR rifle, I would probably advocate doing a law folder over splitting the upper and lower apart, because it's just a lot quicker to access in case you need to or you're stressed. It's just gonna give you less headache. So I'd recommend that. Some of the benefits of this are you get full stocks, you can have your vert grips, and you get full velocity out of these things, maximum lethality, right? So this will be a lot more capable, but you're sacrificing your ability to keep it on your person or nearby at all times. And so I feel like it's got some really weak spots there. And so personally, I never keep something like this nearby. This is never going to be my truck/bag gun, but it's more economical because it can fit multiple roles. So a lot of people say you need to go with a cheap truck gun. Personally, I don't advocate that, just because I don't advocate leaving your gun in the car regardless. Whether it's a $350 Palmetto shit stick or a $2,000 gun, I don't think it makes a lot of difference. A criminal could use either one to close to the same effect, and if it gets stolen, it's gonna get stolen. So I don't care, because the gun's not gonna leave my side for very long ever. So you can stick these in duffel bags, stuff like that, but it's gonna be harder to keep nearby. Also, interstate travel, you might not legally be able to conceal this in a nondescript bag. So this is my least favorite option out of all of them. Just my own 2 cents. So now let's move on to my second least favorite, which is the bullpup. The bullpup, it fits pretty much all the same categories as the standard rifle, except it does not need to be folded. It doesn't need to be collapsed. It is a fighting sized gun at the size of a folded rifle. And so you get all the benefits without the hassle of having to reassemble it, unfold it, anything like that. You just pop it out, you're ready to go. Now the videos I'm showing, unfortunately, I only had an hour and a half at the range to zero a couple guns and film all this shooting. So I've made quite a few mistakes, and I think the Tavor got the most mistakes, but it also performed very, very well despite me having to rack the bolt, because when I seated the round, I didn't let the bolt slam forward and it hadn't chambered. It failed to go into battery. And so I had to rack the bolt, and then my dot wasn't bright enough because I was zeroing it, and so I had to adjust that as well. But it still performed really well. Now next up, this is personally my favorite for traveling interstate when I'm going further from home than I want to. Just because it gives me quite a bit of capability with much less size. So this would be a AR pistol or some other pistol. In this case, it's a CZ Bren 2 and 7.62 by 39. Why do I like this? In all states where it's legal to conceal carry and you have a permit or it's constitutional carry, concealing pistols is legal. So this can go anywhere your handgun can go. So I really like that a lot. Then also, it gives you intermediate cartridge, so you've got a little more oomph. I'm using 7.62 by 39. You could use 300 Blackout or 5.56, but the 30 cals really hit a little harder out of these shorter barrels. Now you can do an AR-15, but unless you're doing a Lawfold or even a 10.3 5.56 AR-15 is the same length collapsed as the Tavor. So personally, I'd pick a Tavor over a collapsed 10.3 AR-15 just to get more velocity. You don't have to fiddle with the brace or stock to adjust it out to length of pull. It's ready to go. But if you want to do a collapsed 10.3 AR-15, that's on you, right? But these guys right here will fit in small suitcases. So this guy I brought down to Boise. It was in my suitcase the whole time. I still had room for my clothes. I still had room for everything else, but this guy fit in just fine. So I really like that. Now next up in my book would be a K-size 9mm. Not only are the receivers shorter, but the barrels are shorter than most intermediate SBRs. 7 to 9 inches is pretty standard. You can get a little shorter, but then you're losing a lot of the capability of those intermediate cartridges. So I really like this. K-size PDWs are incredibly small. They can fit in small bags. You can keep them with you all the time. Personally, I use a laptop bag for this, and I can actually keep the suppressor on it when I carry it. And so I'll keep this around. Now, one of the benefits to this is, well, it's not a intermediate caliber cartridge, so it is not near as potent, and there are definite downsides to that. It also has a similar barrel length to what modern 9mm projectiles are designed for. Like this has a 5-inch barrel length. Modern projectiles are designed to expand out of a 5-inch barrel. So you got that, you got more ammunition, and on top of that, it is much easier to shoot. Much quicker, much more accurately, and just much easier to shoot than a handgun. It gives you quite a bit more capability than your pistol, and it's easier to keep on you. So I find myself keeping this nearby a lot of the time where I live, but I don't cross state lines with it, so it can be an SBR. So next up is the Flux size PDW, basically a pistol with a brace or stock on it. I found personally I would rather carry a compact gun or keep this on me. It's just because of where I live and what I'm able to get away with. But if you're in a little more non-conducive environment, let's say your job, you'll get fired for having something on you, that might be a benefit. You could keep it in the back of a bag. It can be an afterthought. It can be tucked away versus something like this. Luckily, my past few jobs have not had any issues with me carrying a gun or keeping a gun nearby because I've worked at gun stores. But if you don't, if you work somewhere non-permissive, that might be the best option for you. But I found it doesn't give me a very big jump from keeping a handgun nearby. So next up is going to be a optimized handgun of some sort. Now this is a Langdon tactical pistol with a Langdon tactical slide and Langdon tactical trigger job in it. So it is a very shootable pistol. I can shoot this very, very well. Not the best pistol shooter, to be honest, but where I feel this niche really fits is if you're carrying something really tiny, like a J-frame or a Bodyguard 2.0 would be my other recommendation. You might want to have something a little more capable nearby. I feel this really fits that niche. This is an incredibly shootable pistol. I'm very confident with it. I'm confident to the point where I'm right about where I was with the Flux Raider, but this is a handgun. It is smaller, it is easier to conceal than the Flux, and it's easier to keep in small bags, in back pockets of backpacks, messenger bags, stuff like that, and it gives you a little extra capability past what might be your EDC. Now, personally, I carry a gun that I shoot about as well as this, my Compact PX4. So I probably wouldn't do this, but if you are carrying a J-frame, if you are carrying a Bodyguard on body, might be nice to have something a little more potent where it conceals better than any of these other options, but gives you a little more capability. So I do think this is an option as well. It's not something I'll take, but it's an option, especially if you work in an office or something like that, where you could lose your job if you got caught carrying. I just think it's an option, and we like options. So hopefully you enjoyed this video today. If you did, hit that like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If not, that's fine too. I just appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget, go outside, touch grass, and eat ass. All right, guys?